let me say, Charlie was the first one on here. And I said, I don't know what you talked me into, girl, 2 nights in a row. My goodness. Well, we are here. Let me see. Oh, let me hit present. Present. Oh my gosh, I got you guys texting me. Can't find the link. Waiting on my computer to load. No worries. I knew there was a few people that asked for this class and they didn't show up, but that's okay. All right. All right, so tonight we're going to go over a lot of things about mastering your leasing transactions, and it's a lot of it's going to be objections because what most of you at some point or another end up struggling with is the lack of loyalty with leasing clients and tenants, and they will lie right to your face. And they'll even sign an agency agreement and have the little checkbox and say, we're not working with another agent. And they've already talked to like five. And they have one on backup and speed dial in case you didn't answer your phone fast enough. You know what I mean? So we're going to address that. We're going to address some other like concepts for setting up the leasing division of your business, right? So let's go through that. And when I was making this, I keep thinking about everything we're doing in this book club now, and it makes me go, I'm so happy we're going through this book because everything's so relatable right now. And I feel like as that happens, organically, it makes things like your big light bulb go off, the big picture show up, everything comes full circle. And so when we talk about leasing, some agents are like, "Ugh, I can't be bothered with rentals and leasing and all this stuff." They act like it's like for only new agents or this or that. And I know agents that make well into six figures and all they do is rentals because they prefer not to have to fill out so much paperwork and it's easier for them, right? So rentals is just an avenue in real estate to make money, right? So it could be your entire game plan, it could be a part of your business plan or your game plan. And it's also for me, with the amount of rental leads that we come in, even if I was a top producing luxury agent, but I don't know, interest rates went too high and there was no luxury deals in my pipeline, you can like go close a rental almost with the ease and quickness that you flip on a switch if you're set up for it, right? So maybe if you don't feel like that right now, you might by the end of this class, right? But it's more predictable income. And when we get into the stats, you're going to see just how crazy the numbers are for rentals in our area, right? But not everyone can afford to buy right away, but everyone needs a roof over their head. And here we have two options, well, maybe three options. You rent, you buy, or you live at home with your parents or a family member or your boo or a best friend or your, what they call it, couch hopping, right? So you're either renting or buying. And so everyone needs some sort of assistance with that. So it's a lot more predictable, right? You create future buyers and sellers with your renters if you follow what we talk about in a few minutes and maintain a relationship with them after you move them in. And you are starting to position yourself as the trusted housing advisor, not just a door opener. If you are looked at as a door opener and you're treated like a doormat, it's your fault in your real estate business. And it's real estate agents' fault in general that we get treated like that sometimes because we're not doing enough. Our business is not set up strong enough and organized enough and professional enough to change the consumer's mind about what it is, our position is, what we're supposed to be taking care of for them, etc. So leasing clients are not just short-term wins, they are pipeline builders if you stay in touch with them. When we're having this class because Charlie that's on here was like, Tess, I need help with this. These people are not lawyers, they're doing this or that. And so here, Charlie, is when we start talking about building the setup of your business and your conversations and the scripts that you're using with your leasing clients in a way that starts to foster their trust in you, loyalty with you, and their need that you make them feel like they need you right from the very beginning. Right. So yeah, and the reason why you can do this is by knowing some of this information. Renters are staying in their rental situations longer than ever before, and it's mostly because of housing affordability or lack of affordability is what it would better be, right? Competition for quality rentals remains high in many markets, which means if people are running around by themselves, unrepresented, and not savvy with the market and the process, they're always going to lose. But if they're represented by one of you guys, they have a far better chance of getting and fighting for the apartment that they want. And yeah, tenants are often rushed, emotional, and underinformed. I tell you guys all the time, do not let another adult's irresponsibility be your problem. When you get a phone call from anyone and says, my lease is up in 2 weeks and I don't have anywhere to live, I'm gonna be homeless. Yes, you are. You probably are gonna be homeless because you need more than 2 weeks. And the same person inevitably will be that one that's going to be a hard one to place, because if they're irresponsible with timing and didn't care about if they had a roof over their head in 2 weeks or not, they probably are irresponsible with their money in general, and their credit probably isn't really hitting. They might not have the best job. They might have some late payments, because you just don't act like that in one area of life at a time. That'll be a trend, if you will, right? And you cannot make that your problem. So don't get emotionally involved when stuff like that happens. The best thing you could do is give them information about housing authority or shelters. And I know that sounds cruel, but you cannot work a miracle, right? So, and then you'll be devoting time and resources to someone who you're not going to be able to have a win with, right? So you have to send them to someone who can actually help them and has the time and the resources too. So unless you're going to put them up on your sofa, you got to give them over to some professionals or people that have resources for that type of situation, if that makes sense. And so you have to understand, and you have to not just understand it, you have to be committed to the idea. We talked about that in class yesterday, about what's the difference between interested in something and committed to something, about feeling a certain way and knowing. I believe and I know is two different things. You have to know that these tenants need you because you're the expert. They need you to navigate the process, know where and how to get the application. They need you to review the lease and make sure the landlord didn't throw some weird line in there that's going to not be favorable to them, to negotiate on their behalf. A big thing that most people don't know is they'll have a service animal. And if a rental listing says no pets allowed, they automatically say, oh, I can't live there because I have this pet. A lot of people don't know that, even if they have the service animal. So they look for places say pets allowed. And then what they try to do is they say, okay, pets are allowed here, but I shouldn't have to pay the pet deposit because it is a service animal. That's their thinking, even though they have the service animal. So don't assume that people know all of their rights and responsibilities just because they might be in a situation. So that's going to be your job as the expert in this area to convey this and make sure that they are being represented, protected, they're getting everything they need from you. You are not selling these apartments, just like I tell you, you're not really selling houses. You're playing matchmaker, and you are being a financial advisor and a confidant and, a contract reviewer and all the things. But one big thing that you offer, and this is something you can use when you're getting some sort of an objection, like, why should you get paid? Or why am I doing this? Outside of the obvious, like I got out of bed, woke up, got dressed, got in a car, used gas, used my Bright MLS system to find you this place, had to come open the lock for you, walked around and showed you, and then I got to drive back home. Why people think that should be free, I don't know, but it's happening every day. But you're offering all this guidance, speed, and clarity, which is a huge value. Because we just said tenants are often rushed, emotional, and underinformed. You are answering, or you have a solution for all three of those problems. You're in a rush, I got speed. You're being emotional and you're underinformed, I have clarity. You don't know what your rights are, I do. You don't know how to fill this application out, I can help you. The rent is $21.50, but this lease has been on for over 200 days, which means nobody wants it. So I'm going to negotiate, and we're going to see if we can get you for $1,800, and I'm going to save you a couple $100s a month. So that when you're crying about why do I get paid? Well, I just saved you like $10,000 in a year. Why can't I have $1,100? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. So the way that I'm conveying it is in coach mode. So I'm gonna need you guys to soften and fluff that up a little bit when you're dealing with clients. You know that clients are not my forte. You guys are my forte. But I talk to you this way so you know, and you can be confident that these are the things you should be providing. And if you know you're providing them, you can stand 10 toes down and feel confident in your service and why you deserve to get paid. real estate's like one of the only professions where we basically have to beg to get paid or we have to over explain and educate someone. It doesn't seem apparent for some reason. Doesn't seem apparent to people, buyers, sellers, or renters, that we deserve to be paid, right?
Yeah, and we get paid last. Like we got everything has to go through for us to get paid, opposed to other situations where they get usually get paid up front. So
Yeah, get paid up front. Or, there's people that show up to their 9 to 5, clock in and out, don't actually do anything, still get a paycheck.
yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? It is like that. And then the big thing, which we'll talk about a little more in depth, is representation is no longer optional. It's protection. And you can say it like that. How are they going to get into any of these places if they're not represented by someone, even if they're going directly to the listing agent? You can't get into most of these places without being escorted and somebody getting in, right? So, I want to talk specifically about the greater Philadelphia area, and this will also help build your response and your conversations as you're talking with your potential tenant clients. The demand for leasing is so high. And in our area, we actually are able to absorb it. Absorption rate of vacancies means that we have it available, right? So we have the spaces available to put people in. Now, whether it is an ideal place to put someone or not is not what we're talking about. We're just talking about the fact that we have enough vacancies, enough empty apartments for the demand. Yep, supply and demand, exactly. And with our rental prices, even though they seem high to us, we are like median. And people are flocking to Philadelphia for jobs, for school all the time, short term for um, all of our concerts and sports and stuff that we have going on, right? So, and our rent growth is steady. It doesn't like fluctuate super, super high and go super low. So that's why, as I said earlier, it's a more predictable income because it's always happening no matter what, right? Even whether the interest rate's high or low, whether the economy's high or low, last resort, everyone's renting, right? Also in our area, I mentioned a few seconds ago about paying attention to the transaction at hand. In Philadelphia, you everything is negotiable in real estate, period. But in some markets, it's just a given that they're not budging on price. They're not going to give a concession. But that's not true here in Philadelphia. It's actually true that because of our absorption rates and the rent level pricing and stuff, that as an agent, you can really stand out and really earn your money by being able to get some concessions, whether it's the rental price, whether it's access to storage that they might have to pay extra for, a parking spot, the timing, a couple months rent free, upgrade, stuff like that is something that is happening every day, and that's part of our market. So again, when you're having these conversations, when you meet someone new that's a potential tenant client, these are key takeaways and key things you want to say. Like, without representation, you won't know how to review this deal and this transaction and determine what we can negotiate on your behalf and things we could get you on top of just a rent price. The average consumer is not even thinking like that. They're literally just like, oh, it has 3 bedrooms and it's $2,300 a month. Well, that's for me. They're not going to go in and say, oh, I wonder, it's been on the market for a million days. Can I negotiate that? Or I'll pay full price, but can I get 1 month free to move in? Or, if I move in, but I need to have the carpets removed and hardwood floor down, if I pay for that, can I get a month's free rent? Because some people have allergies. I've done that for a tenant before. They had severe allergies and couldn't live anywhere there was carpet. They had to have hardwood or tile. And when I talked to the listing agent, I said, hey, I have a good tenant. I'll send you the application, but is there any way you can ask the landlord, one, if he could replace the carpets because they're highly allergic, or my client's actually willing to do it, put hardwood floors into this apartment with a 1 year lease as long as she gets 1 month's rent free. And the landlord was like, right in the lease, they can do it, right? And it was all, she was like, oh, you're the best agent ever. I was like, not really, I just asked a question, right? But, and here's the things I was just talking about. Time on market rent has been lengthening modestly, giving tenants better negotiation leverage. If someone knows that they're, for example, in the medical field, they sometimes know how long they're going to be at a certain hospital or medical facility. Or if they're coming for school and they got 4 years to go, if you negotiate and say, hey, can we get a lower price but sign the 2 year lease, that's great leverage. And that's something you discuss with the client up front. Say, do you just want a 12-year lease or would you like to try to get a 24 or not year month, 24-month lease so that I can try to negotiate the price for you? And that opens up new options for them, right? So doing some research and knowing this, and I'm gonna be real honest with you, I looked at stuff on Bright MLS and the market reports, but now we have ChatGPT and you can literally say, provide me the latest stats in Greater Philadelphia area, in Bucks County, in West Philadelphia, in Wilmington, Delaware, or wherever it is, regarding leasing statistics. And you'll get information like this. So whatever area you're in, and use that to educate yourself so you can educate your client and also sound educated in front of your client so they feel like you're that expert and you're starting to build that rapport and that trust. And to round this education part out here, how all this information affects is, and this will help you in D-Bay, like I said, you're like, I don't really want to do renters, but just so you know, if you're working with a landlord or an investor that wants to buy a property, they need to be strategic on pricing and concessions in high supply areas. So if you're on the, not the tenant side, but the other side, and you need to be savvy about how you're going to market this property and you're going to catch your fish when there's a million other fish that look just like yours, this is where that strategic comes in, where you know ahead of time on the other side what you're willing to concede to or provide on top of just pricing. Suburban assets may outperform urban cores in the near term. So this is giving you some forecasting. So it's saying out in the burbs might outperform urban cores in the near term. You guys have watched the news. Every time stuff like that's happening, it happens in the city first. And people want a jet. They get scared and they want a jet. There's unrest of any kind. They're out of here. That has something to do with it. The pricing. If anyone's lived in Philadelphia area for an extended period of time, I mean, I knew when Northern Liberties looked more like Kensington, and now Northern Liberties has $2 million row houses and shops and restaurants. There's no parking, but it's got everything else, right? And so certain areas are going to get overpriced, and the people that are used to living there have to go find somewhere else to live. And when you get on the outskirts of the city and the suburbs, the prices tend to be a little cheaper, right? Prospective tenants. So here's you guys dealing with the tenants again. They can expect high competition on well-priced units, but room for negotiation in supply-heavy neighborhoods. Someone tell me another way to another name for or another way to describe a supply heavy neighborhood. What area is that? You can be specific if you're in Philly. What is a supply heavy neighborhood? You
Like
just say
Germantown, just anything you saying? I think Germantown, but that's what I really look into. So like
what makes you feel that Germantown is a high supply neighborhood? What's that mean to you?
because when I look for properties in that area, it's a lot.
Yep. Yeah.
I think
Why
for
else?
rentals for me would be more like the Kensington, Port Richmond, like they got a gazillion rentals all the time. Like new
What?
construction rentals, the buildings and stuff with the rooftop and the city view.
Yeah. So high
I say
supply
that about
areas.
South Philly too.
Yeah, high supply areas happen for usually two reasons. One, um, Sharice, you said new construction. If there's a lot of new units being put up, that's going to be a high supply area for a short amount of time. And then they're going to get filled up and then the price is going to go up. And that's how Northern Liberties happened. The other way a high supply area happens is because it's not the most desirable area to live and there's always vacancies because nobody wants to be there. See the flip side of that? You can have brand new construction, or it can be in a less desirable area. And those are both high supply because it's not about the demand. We're talking about the supply side. So it's there. It's just getting people to want to live there. That's why I said earlier when they said that we have a high absorption rate, meaning just looking at the numbers with the amount of how units available versus the renters, we have enough empty spaces for all the renters, but stuff gets tight and very competitive in specific areas because they're either very desirable or not. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so that plays into being a local area expert and having a niche because we are literally just talking about leasing transactions for 26 minutes and look how much we have covered and how many aspects and amounts of facts and information are just into the leasing transaction. Aline, you have your hand up, dear?
Yeah, I did have a question. I
Yes,
don't
ma'am.
know if this is a thing or not, but is there a such thing as open houses for rentals?
1000%. I actually love them. Do you want to know why I love them? And I was going to talk about them in a little bit, but I can talk about it right now.
Okay.
I love open houses for rentals for a couple reasons. Number one, we're not making a lot of money on a rental, whether you're on the listing side or the sales side. I am not showing, I'm not going to a rental every day to show a different client that rental. I'm hosting an open house and they're going to come to me and I'm going to sit there and I'm going to have paper applications and an iPad opened up for people that want to apply online. And I will say in my little open house advertisement, you know, serious inquiries, bring your pay stubs and a copy of your ID because I will intake you and you can apply right then and there. We will nip this in the butt now because we want to be as efficient as possible when dealing with rentals. Does that make sense?
Makes
And
a lot of sense.
yes, and when you have a rental open house, especially if it's a cute rental or in a nice neighborhood, you're going to get people that don't necessarily want to rent. Just like when you have a open house for a sale, you get nosy neighbors, you get all kinds of stuff. But guess what you're getting no matter what?
Leads.
Huh? Leads, belly to belly time. You are practicing having conversations, which is difficult for a lot of people that get into real estate that aren't used to having to talk to strangers all the time. You get so much from hosting open houses, period. But when you do a rental, I have observed you guys, people on my team, and myself getting buyer leads from a rental open house. If the rental open house is a $2,300 rental and it's beautiful and everybody wants to come check it out, if you can afford $2,300 a month in rent, you can afford some kind of house, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the possibilities are endless. Every single person needs housing. Now, which way we're gonna flip them, chop them, screw it, whatever, where we're gonna put them, and however they're going to pay for housing and in what capacity, you might not know, but every human needs a house. So every human you talk to is a potential client. Every single one. Every single one. Do you know that I have put like two or three different men in houses that initially approached me because they thought they were going to have a chance at dating me? And that did not happen, but I turned them right on into a client. When I say take advantage of every opportunity, Charlie, was that your little snicker? I
Yes.
could tell. I knew that was you. And so when I say every client and every person that you cross paths with is an opportunity. I know you guys think I'm being funny. I'm so serious. You're not wasting my time. Nope, I don't
That's
have.
what makes it funny because we know you're serious.
I'm so serious. It has happened. It has happened. I mean, I'll confess, I've even started to date a client after a while. I told them they weren't allowed to be my client anymore, so they had to go figure it out. But I made them buy like three or four investment properties. I made some money. I got to go on a nice date. Maybe it didn't work out. That's okay. Worked out for me. Worked out for me just fine. No harm, no foul. You know what I'm
Tess is a G, okay?
Listen, we only get one life. You only get one life. And I mean, I'm relatively conservative about things, but a win is a win, right? And if I didn't let this man waste my time, talk to me, burn up phone time, take time away from my kid, I'm gonna get a sale out of it. Yes. If I'm leaving with something was a person. Yes. When you guys see that Denzel Washington meme and he's like, I'm leaving
I
here with
love
something.
it. I'm from around the way and I'm
Yes.
leaving here with
I
something.
am leaving. That is my, and I don't always need something tangible and I don't need money all the time, but I don't want to hang out with people or be somewhere where I don't gain something or I don't move forward or it's not positive. So even if I just get a good time, I feel like I left there with something. I'm not staying where I don't feel good and where I'm not growing or moving forward or excelling in some way, shape, or form, right? I'm not going to be stagnant. And you sure as heck not getting anything out of me. You know what I mean? So you just got to think of it like that, every single person, right? So then when we get to you guys, market is ripe for education around lease negotiation strategies and sub-market nuances. This is the whole entire thing I'm talking about this whole time. It's what I tell you every time we start talking about lead gen. You must be an expert in your field. That is how you stand out. That is how you earn trust. You can used car salesman for a short period of time, meaning you don't really know what the hell is going on, but you're really good at schmoozing or talking or whatever. And some of you have that skill. I don't have that skill. I don't have that skill. And it is a skill, whether it seems a little grimy or not, and you can get away with it and get some deals done for a short amount of time. It will die out because inevitably you will get caught up in not knowing. And you will make a mistake or you will get someone into a situation they shouldn't be in because you really didn't know. You have to know. You cannot fake the funk in real estate with these hundreds of thousands of dollars or even with renting. You need to know what is going on because that's how you stand out. That's how you build trust. There's thousands of real estate agents and we're all trying to do the same thing. The only way to stand out is with honesty, clarity, efficiency, and my favorite second favorite C word, consistency, right? It's so important. This is the part everyone wants to skip is the staying on top of your craft and constantly educating yourself. And this is the worst thing to skip, right? Data reinforces the importance of segmenting core versus suburban markets and client CMAs, or when you run comps, your analysis, right? If you always feel like your tenant clients are ghosting you when you send that paperwork, or maybe they don't show up even to the first appointment, you just didn't spend enough time dating them before you agreed to go show them a place. Because if you spend enough time and you provide enough value, and when I say spend enough time, I'm not saying an extended period of time. I'm not saying being on the phone with them for an hour or Zoom with them. But if you don't give them enough value and you don't convey to this potential tenant client how important you're going to be in their little rental life, that's where you lose them. Because you sound and look just like all the 25 other agents they've already called. You have to stand out. You have to say something profound. You have to say something that makes the eyebrow go up, or they go, "Oh, that's a good idea." Even if they don't say it out loud, they'll say it to themselves. And you get like it's like speed dating. You gotta blah 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 blah, look cute, say something cool to make the person in front of you want to come back around, right? It's the same thing when you're dealing with these tenants. They are calling other agents. Just know that. When you get that little speed dating moment and you're in front of them on Zoom or on the phone, or if you have them come meet you in the office, whatever, however you do that, you better say something profound and unique and correct and educational and make yourself stand out. Because if you lose them, I'm going to go back to the 12-week yearbook that we're digging into during Tuesdays, it's your fault. You already know the beast in front of you. It's a
Tech,
disloyal leasing person. Yep.
is it a certain is it like a limit to the information we can get out of them before they sign paperwork?
You mean like vetting them about their finances and stuff like that?
Right, yes.
It is, I'm gonna tell you this, I don't asking them the questions, I don't see anything wrong with it. And if you get yourself into a comfortable place and you can do that in a professional manner, I absolutely would love for you guys to vet your clients. I have a Google form for my team that they can send that pre-qualifies a leasing tenant before they even have to meet them, and even ask the tenant to upload their ID, because I don't want the girls on my team going out with strangers and we don't know who the heck they saw them last or where. Sorry, guys. Still
Right.
trying to get better, but you can do that. And if I have time at the end of this class, I'll show you, but that's a whole nother class to teach you guys how to do Google Forms. I actually think there is a recording like 2023 or 2024, but you can ask. I will say that I wouldn't want to collect like social security numbers, because now you have to worry about data security and stuff like that. And I don't want to be liable for that. But a copy of a driver's license, so I know who they are, and at least having them write it and say, my credit score is fair, good, poor, whatever, and a estimate of their score, telling me that they have a job and how much they make. Now, if they go apply for their first unit with me and they do a real application where their social security is put in and that listing agent runs their credit and background check and they come back crazy, well, then I just know this person just lied to me and I'm not dealing with them anymore. But if I ask them ahead of time, I take them to a place, they apply, and the listing agent comes back and like, oh, we had so many applications, they were good, but we just went with another person. Well, then I'll know I can keep working with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's
So I actually have I created a checklist or something, basically
yeah.
asking them basic questions, but I wasn't sure if I can send it to them before I had them sign that agreement.
So I would say, especially if you are struggling with keeping them past sending paperwork, that you might want to Zoom with them or FaceTime or WhatsApp video, or try to like build a little stronger connection. And by just sending a checklist without like having a rapport, like if it were me, Charlie, until I got a little better at this, or like I was having some success, I would fill the checklist out. Like maybe talk to them and I would fill it out. Like I'd use the checklist for myself as the agent to make sure I asked certain questions and went over certain things. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And then
That's what
once
I
you
do
find,
too.
yeah, once you find much success and you get in your groove and you get comfortable, and then also now you're posting all your wins and everyone, you're able to prove like, yes, I'm this bomb rental agent and I put this person here, I got this person that. I negotiate, and you need to talk about that. I negotiated, they are paying $200 less a month for rent, blah, blah, blah. Now you won't have to explain yourself so much. You are proving it as you go along, right?
Right. So this is my thing. This is like, so they were coming, I have them coming to me. We have
Hmm.
conversations. I get some to sign the buyer agreement, but then it's ones that don't sign the agreement.
Yeah,
It like once you, I don't know, maybe I'm not talking to them enough, like you said, to get them
yeah.
to sign that agreement. So I think that's where the situation was coming in. And then I didn't know when I could start asking those questions. So it's like if I
Oh,
don't
from the rip. Like
know,
I'm trying to have a tenant consultation the same I would have a buyer consultation. Maybe not as in depth and there's not as many steps, but I'm trying to figure you out, because it gives me time to learn about you, you to learn about me, gives me time to wow them so they don't go looking for anyone else because they just love me so much. But some of the things that are also happening, we're going to get through on these slides. I'm about to get into the thick of the objections and their mindset in a minute, so it might help you.
all right.
Yeah.
Um,
So, oh, go ahead.
Taz,
Yes, ma'am.
um, so what is the credit score that you will like? What credit score you will work with somebody?
So,
Because yeah,
yeah, so this is the thing. And there's a high volume of people that don't have awesome credit
mm,
just where we live. I see it all the time. I have people apply when I have listings, you know what I mean?
mm,
I will say this. If it is like five something, I'm probably going to tell them they need to go boost their credit up a little bit. If they are at least in the sixes and they have good income, I just know that before I go show them anything, I'm calling every listing agent ahead of time and just going to feel them out and ask questions about the owner. And that's when you have to get really crafty and savvy as a real estate agent and learn how to negotiate on behalf ahead of time and say, hey, I got this nurse. She works over at UPenn, but when she was younger, she tore her credit up a little bit, but she makes, $85,000 a year, and she's willing to even pay a double security deposit or pay a couple months up front. do you think your landlord, or could you ask your client landlord if that would be something that they'd be willing to accept and to overlook her not so great credit score?
I literally just did that for my last two
Mm.
rentals that I closed.
Yeah.
And because they had like a 583, I did make sure that they didn't have evictions. Because it don't matter,
Mhm.
they can have a 700 credit score. If they got
Oh, yeah.
eviction, they're going to
Yeah.
be automatically denied. But I always had to contact the listing agent in advance prior
Yeah.
to my client filling out the application. Because if you know they're going to get denied, there's no point for them to waste money, 50, 60, $70 to apply, and
It's
it's not
no
going to
point
work
for you
out.
to waste your time and get in the car and go show the thing. Do
Well,
it more. Yeah. Prepping is good.
I got them both to sign leases. My last
Yeah.
two rentals, they both
Yeah.
did not have
No,
great
that's what I'm
credit, and
saying.
it did
You
work.
did,
So
yeah, you did the prep work. Doing
yeah,
prep work before you get in your car and go show. It's the same thing with buyers. When I say, guys, get the seller's disclosures ahead of time. Now, I know a lot of listing agents are knuckleheads and they literally won't give it to you if you're getting jammed up, fine. But as much as you can, try to get as much information about the property, your client, so that you can make really good business decisions. If you're making business decisions and you have 10% of the information you need, and you've only done 10% of the work, well, you're just like running, you're like a hamster on a wheel, right?
and I
Linique,
was
I'm
also very transparent with the clients too when
oh
they
yeah.
had crappy credit. I
Mhm.
just let them know, especially depending on where they were trying to rent and all that.
Yeah, that's the best way to
So
be.
those, I don't know who was just asking a question about what things you can ask,
And
but I literally
Charlie, yeah.
ask everything I can about them. Like I'm not straight from the beginning. Like I make it conversational, but
Yes,
I try to get their income. I ask them, well, what is your savings? Do you have, you want to pay $1,500? We might get you a place for 12, but if it is 15, do you have $4,500 saved up? Because you're gonna need it.
exactly. Yes,
Are you
exactly.
able to move within 45 days too? Is another thing I've learned
Yeah,
recently.
exactly.
They can't be trying to move in 6 months and want to start doing the work like applying
Yes.
now.
Yes, they're very ambitious. Lanique, sorry, you had your hand up. I had you guys small, so I could only see one at a time, so I couldn't see you guys with your hands up. I'm sorry.
It's okay. No need to apologize. I did have a question with are we going to go over, I'm not sure if I'm jumping ship here,
Okay.
um, converting leases.
You
Or
mean
are
to buyers? Like
pe-
converting tenants to buyers?
yes.
No, no, not in this class, because that would be a whole nother hour. So not in this class, but we can have one.
Okay.
Yeah, we can have one, but not today. Yep.
So I just did a leasing appointment right now, and that's why I took my phone the camera off.
Yeah.
Um, I know y'all guys are being taught by Tess and Tiana. I'm telling you right now, there's hundreds of people. The young lady just got scammed. She's been paying for tours. She's like the 20th person I talked to this year that paid someone to take them on a tour and then made them apply to the place or told them you have to apply first before you come see it. I've heard of it. I haven't personally experienced it when I went looking, but I
Yeah.
know people personally who have.
That is happening and it's mind blowing. But again, that just reiterates that the general public is not educated about this process. You know what I mean? Alasia in the chat, Alasia said something. I have a series of questions I ask them, and I've learned you need to be very intentional because you want transparency from them and they are being represented by another agent. How far are they in the process and did they find a place yet? So she straight up asked, like, is this a monogamous relationship or are we, in what they call a menage a trois? What is happening? So I like that she asked that. So let's get into some of these propositions and also objections that you guys get so that we can, oh yeah, Hannah says I use a client intake form. Yep, I like that too. So your leasing, again, knowing your value proposition and believing yourself and knowing you can execute on them is going to be key here. So what you do that Zillow can't, what you do that other agents can't. So you're educating them on fair market rent and realistic expectations. You can save tenants and buyers so much money by just not allowing them to overpay from jump. and telling them, why are you going to pay $2,800 a month for this apartment in this building when everyone else is paying under 25? This guy's crazy. We're not doing that, right? They don't know because they don't have the ability to go look at what everybody else is paying like we can on the MLS. Let me see. Strategize applications to increase approval odds. If you have a tenant, especially if their money is tight and their credit is not right, and they want to apply, go to a big building or one of the groups that are here in your area that have hundreds and hundreds of rental listings, and go to the top of their food chain and say, hey, I have a tenant. They just got to be in this area and at this price. And let's say if we put one application in, will you consider them for apartment 203 here, 5B here, XYZ here, and one company, one application, and put them in where they can fit in. Does that make sense? Instead of being at applying for this apartment over here with XYZ company and another apartment over here with a different company and paying $50 and $50 and $50. Crazy. Advocate and protect your client and ask up front. Don't let them put the application in and say, oh, well, now they want to look at this apartment. Ask up front. Right? Ask the listing agents up front, like, this is my client's situation, before you go running around being crazy, right? Negotiate the lease terms, deposits, move-in dates. These are all things where you can shine. Identify red flags in the listings themselves, so in the apartments and the leases. You're not just opening a door unless that's how you want to be treated and that's how you're acting. You are supposed to walk around the apartment with them and notice things that they might not notice, especially if you're dealing with young people. If you're into student housing or you have a young professional, it's probably their first apartment or maybe their second, and God knows what their first agent did or didn't do. So, and they don't have their parents there. They don't have like a trusted advisor. It's supposed to be you. So if you open up the door and just let them walk around and you don't check and make sure nothing's leaking, and you don't make sure that all the windows are sealed or that the utilities are working in there or there's good water pressure, and they don't do that, you're going to get blamed for it afterwards, whether it's your fault. I mean, you're not a plumber. It's not up to you if there's good water pressure, but you showed them the apartment. They trusted that it was a good place to live and you put them there, right? And D-Base said a lot of people use rent spree, have the tenant pay the extra so multiple landlords can see their application. That's an option. You can definitely do that. And so in conversation and in scripts, my job is to protect your time, your money, and your housing stability, not just unlock doors. Like, you can literally just say that when you're having your conversations with these people, right? And here's more to help you guys out, that pre-showing loyalty framework. Stop the multi-agent shopping, right? That's our goal. Secure commitment before showings again, and that's exactly what we've been talking about. So what happens without the loyalty, you guys know how much that hurts. They're booking tours with 3 to 5, probably 10 different agents. You lose control of the timeline. You lose them. You end up working for free, which is, nobody likes doing that. Your pre-showing process, and like I talked to you guys in the business planning clinic in November, like we were talking about in this 12-week year, needs to be written down. It needs to be your order of operations, standard order of operations for your business, right? So we're going to write down what happens when someone goes to Cunningham Leasing, right? Yeah, Sharice is saying every tenant consultation, I speak about why are they renting and not buying, and sometimes they have valid reasons. She's getting into the thick of it with them. Exactly. So what's your pre-showing process and initial consultation? And write down your questions. This is for you. This is not something you give them. This is for you and your business, right? God forbid you guys get super successful and need help. You could just hand over these operation directions or your little continuity book to an assistant or a VA or a protege, whatever, right? Education on the market conditions where they want to live. If you know where you're working and you have someone come to you and say, I want a studio or 1 bedroom, I can only afford about $1,600 a month, I really want to live near Rittenhouse. That's not happening. That's not happening. Right? Or if they say, I'm bringing my car because I'm going to school at Temple and I'm bringing my car where I'm coming from New York, blah, 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 whatever. Parking's really important. I heard Northern Liberties was a great place. Oh, okay. Northern Liberties is great. There's no parking. And if you tell them that up front, they can make different decisions. Maybe they won't bring their car and they still want to live in No Libs. At least you told them, because if not, they're going to go look at places and be like, well, where do I park? And now you just wasted everyone's time. This is the pre-showing situation. Clear explanation of how you work. This is how I run my business. This is how I treat my clients. This is the process that I go through with my clients for leasing. And then we get to obviously that tenant agency agreement. I have a key rule down here I'm going to explain in depth. No agreement equals no tours. That's the law. That's the real estate regulation. That's what can get you all dinged, fined in quote unquote real estate jail, right? And then I said, or maybe just one or specific tours. And this will be very helpful. You're not wrong if you show up and you're willing to, and you're okay with having an initial meet and greet at a place to show a place for a potential tenant. Maybe you have been struggling to seal the deal over the phone or get paperwork done electronically, and you really just want to get some FaceTime with a client and try to win them over in person. As long as you bring the consumer notice and a tenant agency agreement with you, with all intentions of getting that thing signed, or at least showing them, and you can still send your template and get it done over the phone while they're standing there with you, should they really like that apartment, fine. If you have a client giving you a ton of pushback because they don't want to commit to 2 weeks, 30 days, 45 days, whatever it is that you want on your tenant agency agreement, and they want to go see 3 houses on Saturday, well, vet them, make sure the credit's good, make sure they can afford these 3 places they want to see, and then do a tenant agency agreement. Instead of having time constraints, write the 3 specific addresses and say, fine, if you don't want to sign it for time, let's do it on for specific addresses. And write the 3 addresses so that if they decide to apply and move into one of those 3 addresses, you're still protecting your commission and yourself from getting in trouble with compliance. Does that make sense? Every single part of a real estate deal is negotiable. We have to use standard forms. So sometimes you have to use the standard form and think outside the box to edit it. On the tenant agency agreement form, there's not lines for you to write specific addresses, but there's a big, huge blank space on the bottom for other, and that's where you would write that. In the timing where it's asking you for dates, you would write see below. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let's get some more into this pre-showing loyalty. I don't know what time it is. We might go a few minutes over, guys. Sorry, I have a lot more stuff. Pre-showing loyalty script. Because rentals move fast, it is important we operate as a team. I ask for exclusivity so I can respond quickly, negotiate confidently, and advocate fully on your behalf. Reinforcing your value. You can give them a custom rental market analysis. Maybe they gave you 2 or 3 areas they like. Imagine you sent them a little market report for each area so you know what the median rent price is per bedroom, what type of housing it is, proximity to public transportation, stuff like that, right? You're giving them application strategy guidance. That's exactly what we just talked about a second ago. And I was like, don't allow someone to just willy-nilly apply 50 times to the same company or to 5,000 different companies. Have a conversation up front so that you're helping them protect their fees, right? Lease review support. Now, you guys are not attorneys, but if we're using the standard PAR form, you can advise on that because that's our standard form. This happens with you guys all the time. If you get a tenant client and they get with a building or something that has their own lease, all you can do is say, because this is not a standard form, you would have to ask an attorney or someone else, a trusted advisor that you have to review that for you. I am not allowed to make comments or alter that form. Does that make sense? The PAR forms are standard and already deemed great. And as long as you fill them out properly, you're good to go and you can answer questions about them. But if it's another company's form and not a standard PAR or Delaware Association of Realtors or Maryland or Jersey or New York or wherever you're at, it's not the standardized forms that have been approved by the board. We are not attorneys, so we're not allowed to change those up or comment on them, right? And what happens when you get through this and you can effectively convey this to your client is they feel supported and not sold. Supported, not sold. That should be like a tattoo or something.
Wait, Tess, can you go back for 1 second? I just need.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You good? Charlie, are you good?
I turn my. Yes, I am.
Okay. Okay. And then real quick before I get into some more building loyalty, I put this one slide in here. You'll want to foster loyalty before, during, and after the lease. And oh, hold on, somebody's laptop done dying. She's crazy.
Hey, Tess, it's Alasia. I can send her the Zoom link.
Because okay, all right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's Alasia. It's not just before, you also want to maintain a relationship and their loyalty during and after the lease for the obvious. What if they want to buy later? And what if they live there, but now they need to go live somewhere else? You want them to call you back for their next rental, right? You want to double, triple, quadruple dip with people. You want to be their realtor for life for all the real estate decisions they make, right? So daily communication during the searching period, checking in, seeing what they like, this or that. You're wrong if you're dealing with a client and you go like a full 48 hours and you don't hear from them and they don't hear from you when I'm talking about rentals. Buyers are different because buyers usually are, especially if they have a short timeline, they are hitting you up, trust me. And so it's easy to have a back and forth. But if a tenant and you're not on top of them, they're talking to someone else. If your tenant doesn't talk to you for 2 days, they probably are talking to another agent. And you have to be the one reaching out. You are chasing your tenant clients. I know it sounds crazy because you don't make as much money with them. That is the name of the game.
Tess,
Yeah.
so is Bright the only website like we could go on for our tenants as far as looking for the property? Because sometimes the houses don't match the pictures, or like when I take my tenants into the property, the
Mhm.
houses be like not clean. It'd be like a total mess, so it just make the
Yes.
tenant turn around.
So that is because there's so many crappy real estate agents out there and they do not care and they are not committed to the field or their craft. They are just in here trying to make money and don't care. There's no way to avoid that. Bright is not the only place that you can find sales or rentals or anything like that, but it is the place you should go first if your leasing client finds a property outside of Bright MLS, or God forbid in like a hotel or not a hotel, excuse me, apartment building or a complex, you definitely need to call the management company and get documents signed about what type of commission you're going to get paid or not, or understand if you are getting paid or not, because those buildings and complexes have employees to do your job. And so you might just need to let that tenant go, figure that out for themselves. And if they come back to a property that they actually need you for, then that's it. But those big complexes and apartment buildings, 9 times out of 10, they're not paying agents. They are already paying salaries to people to sit there all day, every day to take care of walk-in clients that want to rent. But Bright MLS, the information in there, it's put in by humans and we have to rely on them, unfortunately. And the apartment building is different. Let me look in the chat. She goes, what happens when tenants move in? Some crazy stuff pops up after move-in and now client is in a weird position. That does happen. And, if you want to leave a positive, lasting impression, you can't go and fix anything for them, but you can surely send emails and advocate for them and give them guidance on their tenant rights and stuff like that to help fight really bad situations. Anna said, don't forget to mention to people you also do buying and selling because people might not know that you're not just a leasing agent, right? They might think you're strictly doing rentals, so you can let them know. And then let me see, my real estate teacher from Temple had an agent on his team from KW Mainline who would follow up with their tenant clients every 6 months by sending them cookies, gifts. By doing that, when the clients were ready to buy, they always came back to her. Exactly. She was maintaining that lifelong relationship. And if you don't want to send cookies or gifts, you can surely send emails, text messages, make care calls. Yeah, it says, does anything change if owners use property managers for applications or approvals? Yeah, that's exactly what I was just talking about. If it's a property manager or it's like a building or a complex, before you waste your time, you need to call and see if they're even gonna communicate with you. Yeah, if they don't want to pay, that's when you got to have that conversation about tenant agency and what they're willing to pay, right? And what you will charge to take care of them. And so here's a after move-in loyalty script. My relationship with you doesn't end at move-in. I'm here for renewals, relocations, and future home ownership, right? Plant the future, annual rent review, home buyer readiness conversations. Every single tenant client, even if I didn't put them in a place, but they came to me as a renter and I know somebody put them somewhere, like for example, the ones that you lose to another agent, I would still have them on a smart plan about home buyer education. They would still be getting an email from me every month because maybe I didn't get you this time, but I'll get you next time. Because guess what? That agent that stole them or got lucky and took them to the place they liked, they're not doing that. They're not sending them anything. So if you do, you might get them later. Tamir about, so usually does the tenant pay the fee or the landlord? Usually the landlord will pay the fee. Usually, but there are instances where you have to actually come with your tenant agency agreement and be like, hey, you signed this, right? And here's some more about that. Tenant agency agreement, positioning it in the right way. Never say, this just protects me as the agent. You know what I mean? Don't say that. And I've heard you guys say that. And while it's a true statement, you don't want to just say it like that, right? Here's another example, a better example. This agreement formalizes our working relationship so I can fully represent you, advocate for you, and move quickly when the right opportunity appears. How you frame it. Exclusivity equals priority. Commitment means better service. Clarity, obviously fewer misunderstandings. Insurability, covered in any worst case scenario. People are sue happy and people are aware that we are sue happy and we're always suing somebody and trying to get some money. If you tell someone, God forbid, I open a door and you walk in and the ceiling fan falls down and bumps you on the head. If I don't have a tenant agency agreement with you, guess what, partner? You can't sue anybody. You can go after the owner of the building, the landlord on your own, but you can't bother me because I'm technically just here opening the door. I can't put myself in that predicament or my business. I'm not going to put you in that predicament or that business. And so that's why it is required, right? Also, if you're a little spicy, I don't compete with other agents. I collaborate with my clients. Period. Another objection, and this happens a lot, I want to keep my options open. And they're not talking about housing, they're talking about agents. They want to be able to work. They'll tell you flat out, I want to keep my options open. I understand the reality is agents can't fully advocate without clarity. This agreement ensures I'm accountable to you and that you're not just one of many clients competing for my time. Another thing that comes up all the time, what if I find something on my own? Meaning, they went to an apartment building or this or that, or they feel like just because they went and cheated on you, and now that agent they cheated on you with is answering the phone and they come back, but they're like, oh, but you didn't show me the place, blah, 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 blah. I've had that happen. It's wild to me. Perfect. Send it to me. I'll review the lease terms, confirm market rent, and protect you from unfavorable clauses. Representation still matters. Boom. Right? Here's the big one. Here is the big one. See, I put it in red. It's huge. Other agents didn't require this. And they're talking about the tenant agency agreement. I think this is like the numero uno response and objection that I hear from you guys. That's exactly why many tenants end up confused, frustrated, or denied. My process is designed to get results, not just show properties. That's one option. Option 2 for a response. I can't atone for the actions of other agents, but this is a legal requirement nationally for all realtors. We can be fined and or lose our license if caught touring properties without agency protection for us and our clients. If you are talking to someone who a tone might throw them off in plain day speak, which I know we talked about yesterday about how we code switch sometimes and we plain speak with some people and we got to step our vocabulary up for others. This is when we say, I can't speak for other agents. That's what that means. So it's, I can't speak for other agents, but for me and my business, we are going to do things this way. And for those of you that were crazy trying to write this stuff down, you know I'm going to upload this into the drive for you. So don't feel like you need to do that. I see Tamira smiling real big, Patrice smiling real big. Like, you know I'm going to get it for you. And let me share something else. I know we're a few minutes after 8. I wanna, and I'll put this in the notes for you guys, but it was something I was thinking about. Think of all your client relationships as being cyclic and circle, because that means they're never ending, because we always say we want to be your real estate agent for life, right? With tenants, it is even more so, but you can have 2 different cycles. You can have tenant, loyal client, turns into a referral source, could turn into a buyer, can turn into a seller. You also can have a tenant that maybe is a renter for life because it's a lifestyle choice or whatever else, but you're moving them in, you're keeping track, all their little life things, you can renew them, you can help them move again, move into another place, and it's you're going to have these cyclic relationships like this, right? In order to do that at a high level and with great conversion rates, you need to have your standardized operations. You need to have your tenant consultation outlined so it looks and sounds very near the same. You need to require your agency agreements. You need to lead with education and not urgency. You need to keep track, use your command in your CRM for future conversion. And I'll probably say it a million more times before I ever retire. Every single contact in your CRM should be on an automated email and or text messaging drip. In command, it is called a smart plan. It is just a drip campaign with everything else for the most time. Every single renter you serve correctly is a future sales commission waiting to happen, whether it's with them or someone they refer you to because you treated them so awesome for their rental that they might refer you to a family member who needs to buy because now they trust you. This is a much stronger direction, and now you've rebuilt the deck. So it teaches you the process, their positioning, all this thing, right? It's not just, oh, I opened a door, you liked it, we put the application in, and you never heard from me again. Make sense?
Yes.
Was it